Namaskar. Hello and welcome to PGurus channel. I'm your host Sree Iyer. Today we're going to talk about the bill on immigration that has passed the US Senate. It is expected that it might not pass the House. So it could be you can say this is a moot point. Why are we even discussing something that is bound to fail? Well, there is about whether something is going to fail in the House or not, because I am looking at this from a totally different perspective. So humor me and take a quick look at this slide deck. This is where we are today. The Senate has released the long-awaited border deal. This has the support of some Republican senators also. And so that means that there is a split or a division inside the Republican Party, just like I've been talking about having three different groups in the Democratic Party. There are also the non-Trumpers or never-Trumpers, and then the Trumpers, and then there may be moderate Republicans also. So you have anti-Trump, pro-Trump, and moderate Republicans. I can just classify as these three, put them in these three lumps. I hope you have already liked this video. If not, kindly like this video, because there's a perspective here what I'm going to share, and also I'm going to tell you how this bill will affect India. It's a roundabout way, so you need to bear with me for taking a little bit of time to explain this. So here we go. According to the Senate's border deal and foreign aid package. So what happened was that the Democratic senators have been pushing for this immigration bill where they wanted to bring in 5,000 illegal immigrants every day and give them work permit visas. 5,000 a day with worker permit visas. I'm going to give you the details of what finally got passed. Even like I said, that this might not pass in the House, but I have my doubts on that, and I'll explain to you that after we have gone through the salient features of the bill. According to the Senate's border deal and foreign aid package, so what they did was that the Republican senators, they said, okay, so you want us to pass this bill, then you need to also tie. So what they did was they tied the aid package to Ukraine and Israel with this bill. So essentially, the Republicans are the ones who are insisting that all these three things be passed at once. So Israel gets aid, so does Ukraine, and also there is going to be what they think is a very muscular illegal or immigration bill. So what is this bill and what is really going to happen? Because on the other side, you have Trump, who has said he will not allow a single illegal immigrant in. And he has the track record to show it. From 2016 to 2020, illegal immigration almost gone down to a zero. And not only that, many who were caught, they had to leave the country, and their children who were born in the US were asked to stay here. So they got separated. The families got separated. This was called as DACA. This was an initiative of Obama. The Democrats ranted and raved about it, and that was why it is believed that when Biden came back, they got this illegal immigration implemented with a vengeance. You should look at this in conjunction with the other one I did about a few days ago on how people are illegally coming into the United States. This tries to put a legality around this, but let's just see, first of all, what are all the different things that they are trying to do. They are trying to do is significantly curtail asylum at the southern border, breaking decades-old protocols. The bill would change immigration law dramatically for the first time in decades. The package paves the way for a key vote in the chamber this week, in which the legislation is at the risk of failing, and if it does pass, setting up a clash with the House. So we'll get the latest on what happened in Senate. I thought it had already passed, but looks like it is being debated still in the Senate, because I just saw a latest update before I came on live. This is still being passed. So let us say that these are the salient features of the bill. Now, the Republican leader of the House in Congress, that is Mike Johnson, has said that this legislation is dead on arrival, and saying that this is not going to be something that he's going to touch. He's a staunch Trumper, okay? He's a staunch pro-Trump person. Now, there are people inside the GOP, that is the Grand Old Party or the Republican Party, and there are many people in the Congress today, elected congressmen and women, who don't like Trump. And the Republicans are in a wafer thin majority. If there is a coup that ever would be attempted by the Democrats, this would be the point. So I'm thinking that there could be a surprise. We have to wait and see when this bill, gets debated in the Congress, because in order to stop this, Mike Johnson would have to ensure every Republican gets on board and votes along the party vote. If they switch, if they break ranks and vote with the Democrats, then this bill will get passed in the Congress, and Biden will sign it with a flourish, in a blink of an eye. So that could be a problem. So let us wait and see how that goes. First of all, what is going to happen is this bill has so many changes that it's going to require a tremendous amount of resources. What are the resources? New emergency authority to restrict border crossings if daily average migrant encounters reach 4,000 over a 1 week span. This is encounters. They're not talking about allowing people in. These are encounters. If you take a look at a window, 4,000 encounters per day, that means 28,000. In any given week, if 28,000 people are coming onto the borders, then there will be a new emergency authority that will kick in. And what that is, I will tell you in just a moment. If that metric is reached, the Homeland Security Secretary, this is Mayorkas right now, could decide to largely bar migrants from seeking asylum if they cross the border unlawfully. So first of all, there's a limit, 28,000 per week. Okay, and that is the legal crossing. Unlawfully, nobody can cross. And they can try and insist on this. If the migrant crossings increase above 5,000 on average per day, so instead of 4,000 per day over a week, if it is 5,000 on average per day, the DHS is required to use the authority. That means, so 4,000 a day, 7 days they are waiting before they crack down. If it is 5,000 a day, immediately the rules kick in. That means they are trying to limit the crossings to 5,000 a day. So this begs the question, what exactly did the Republicans get in all this? That's exactly what the Democrats wanted, 5,000 people a day. So what if you try to put some restrictions in and around it? They will find illegal ways to come in. Anyway, that's just my 2 cents. And there's an upper limit also, trigger. If it reaches 8,500 in one day, the department is required to trigger the authority. However, the federal government is limited in how long it can use the authority. Okay. Now, this is the other interesting part. In the first year, the government can use this for 270 days. In the second year, 225 days. And in the third year, 180 days. By the time the third year comes along, it is only once in 2 days. In other words, if it did by June, if it has exhausted it, the second half, they can't stop anyone. So this is ludicrous the way this has been done. So after 3 years, the thing says it sunsets. That means that there will be no more of any of these provisions after 3 years. That is, I'm not a lawyer, but this is how I read it. Sunset usually means sunset, right? It's done. Codifies a policy that requires the government to process at least 1,400 asylum applications at ports of entry when the emergency authority is triggered. 1,400 a day. Now, most of the illegal immigration comes into the United States along 3 states: Texas, Arizona, and California. And all these states have land borders, and there's a massive amount of illegal immigration that also comes in. So this is going to be that means they are going to be monitoring centrally how many people are coming through, how many people are being let in, and there is also more standards for passing the initial screening for asylum, making it potentially more difficult for asylum seekers to pass. But remember, I told you, our good old member of parliament, what's his name? Simranjit Singh Mann. he takes 35,000 to 70,000 rupees and he'll give a letter saying that this person is being persecuted for his religious beliefs. That's all the spending there is. And then after that, of course, they have to pay the money for the coyote to cross the US border, or at least to get to that point. There are many other steps involved. So people who are now trying to seek asylum, they are somehow thinking that there is a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow in the United States, and that once they get here, life is going to be great. Well, I have some reality checks. This will not be in today's episode, but I will be adding that in a later episode. So stay tuned on that. The the asylum processing timeline is set from years, which is what it is today, to 6 months. So how does that happen? What they are doing is they are not allowing this processing to go through the immigration court system, which is what it is today. You have to get in front of a judge. So it is taking about 3 years now. So this is one reason why they have passed this law, that in order to process somebody's application, it is taking 3 years, and that's too long, and people will easily dissolve into the vast expanse that the United States is. So it is very difficult. So that's why they said, okay, we need to bring a new law. Okay, that makes sense. Absolutely, it makes sense. Then there are some key changes in the bill. It preserves the president's authority to designate humanitarian parole on a case-by-case basis. President Biden has used the authority for Ukrainians, Afghans, Cubans, Venezuelans, and Haitians, among other populations. Why Ukrainians? Because there were many who were fleeing from there that perhaps could have been adversely affected. Like, for example, in the Donbass region, which the Russians have overrun, many people fled from there, and they may have come to the United States seeking asylum. There could be people who are working on the government who might have felt that if they stayed in Ukraine, and if in case Ukraine lost, that their lives might have been at danger. Same thing with Afghans. All the Afghans who helped the United States. Remember, the United States went into Afghanistan in 2001. They were there for 20 years. And they were afraid that these people might be, taken to task, worse, killed by the Taliban. So therefore, they wanted to give them a way to bring them into the United States. You saw all those things where people were just climbing aboard the wings of a plane only to fall to their death when the plane took off. Horrible signs we saw. So these things, each one has a reason why that country is being allowed. This also explains a little bit about how, like the caravan that moves all the way from Venezuela up north, the local people like Hondurans, Nicaraguans, or Mexicans, they are not joining this. So they know that there is some sort of a trigger here that has allowed these people to come. I don't know. I'm not sure that this is needed, that this high an intake is needed. Maybe the United States wants to avoid what has been happening in Europe. As Europe grows older, they need younger population, and internally the population is not procreating as much as they would like it. Maybe this is US's way of handling that. But why are they not saying that? Why are they not having counters in every country saying that this is the need we have, this is the particular demand that we foresee in the next few years, and for fulfilling that, we need this skill set, and you can appear here and you get a work permit. So that means before they even leave the country, it doesn't matter which country, they know that they can apply for this, and then this is just like getting an H1 or getting an F1. Okay, this is just a temporary work visa. Why not do that instead of trying to cherry pick some countries and not the other countries? I don't know why this is happening. Anyway, this is just me. Including limited changes that narrow the use of parole at land borders. It authorizes 250,000 additional immigrant visas to spread over 5 years for families, and applies to employment-based immigrants. Like I said, if an Afghan was in the employ of the United States government, like an interpreter or a translator or a type writer or a guide, so there is provision being made for their families to join them once they get their green card. Now, it also provides a pathway to citizenship for Afghans paroled into the states after the US withdrawal from Afghanistan and extends the special immigrant visa program for Afghans who worked for the US government. So this is exactly what I was telling you, right? So in conclusion, they have sort of formalized some things. At the same time, let's do the math. 5,000 a day, right? Let's say 3,000 a day, 3,000 a day, right? That means 1 million people will be coming into the United States every year. Does the United States need that many people? Why not have this thing done in a more proper way where they can identify the areas where there is need instead of allocating this along country lines? Why can't they do it along needs? And whichever country is able to fulfill that need, allow those country people to come in. And then I don't care if they give them permanent or temporary work visas, because that getting immigration, that is getting a green card, is in a different process, right? That queue is different. I've already told you that if you have an H-1B and you come into the United States today, in order to get a green card, you have to wait for 100 years, 100. So you know that that's not going to happen. So I mean, longevity is not going to be that long. So that is just the green card, and then a further 5 years before you become a US citizen. So that part is going out of whack. That has not been addressed in this. So legal immigration, H1s, J1, green card, quotas, nothing has been addressed. So basically, if I understand this correctly, what US wants is cheap labor so that they can hold the costs down in the US, because they are already preparing for a de-dollarized era for the United States. Today, 20% of all petrol sales, that is crude sales between countries, is taking place in a currency other than the dollar. It could be rubles, it could be rupees, it could be petro yuan. You understand what it is. So once this 20% start becoming 30, it might become in 1 or 2 years, it could be more. That would basically mean that the amount of dollars that are sloshing around the world, they need to find a home. Where are they going to find the home? There's already talks about Argentina ditching its current currency and going to a dollar. There's also talk about Venezuela ditching its current currency because it's in hyperinflation mode and adopting the dollar. So if such things happen, then the dollar gets showed up. The excess dollars that are sloshing about in the system might find a way into like Argentina and Venezuela. That might help stabilize the ship. But otherwise, it's going to be a huge problem. So there are multiple things at play here. I'm not criticizing this as bad or good. I'm just telling you that there are implications. Unfortunately, none of them are going to be benefiting Indians. I think India needs to understand that as they start moving up the value chain, as the food chain, as they start getting more technologically proficient, the amount of goodwill it's going to get. Plus, remember, already India's GDP on a per PPP, I don't remember the parity something, it is around 13 trillion today, even though nominal GDP is only 4 trillion. So this 13 trillion, but India doesn't have the kind of debt that US has. Today, the US national debt is upwards of $37 trillion, which is one of the reasons why everybody has been complaining that you guys are printing money like there is no tomorrow. This has to stop. So these are all the different reasons why others are moving away from the dollar. And the dollar is going to get orphaned outside of the United States. It needs to find a home. And it looks like countries like Argentina and Venezuela are going to be the ones that might be starting to use dollars. So some way, somehow, people will get dollars in, and then anyway, that's a long story. It's not going to be easy. It's going to be a bumpy ride, which also means that the value of your holdings in your homes, in your assets in the United States are going to take a beating. To that limited point, I agree with Ankit Shah, but on a broader basis about the dollar being the reserve currency or the standard, I still think that what Sree Iyer App says is right. It's not going to happen in our lifetimes, my lifetime for sure. Thanks for watching. I don't know if you have any questions. No, we don't have any questions. There's a question about 𝗤𝙗𝗼𝗂𝗏. 𝗤𝙗𝗼𝗂𝗏's son got married and he is actually a little bit busy, but I'm hoping to, today is Tuesday there. I think it's either Wednesday or Thursday India time. There's going to be a live show with 𝗤𝗂𝗫𝗠𝗪. My promise. It's already set. We just moved it a little bit out. So that will be happening. So I will not disappoint you guys. He is here. So I think that's all we have for today. Thanks for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to click on the bell button for notifications. Namaskar.